Okay, so this video is about the aims and objectives of the course, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Mostly about the aims and objectives actually to begin with. I think I'll put the task we're going to do in a separate video or audio file with written instructions, okay, so that you don't have to keep rereading or looking at the video. You can actually have something in front of you on the screen, which will make things simpler. Anyway, what am I going to try and do with this unit with you? Well, the first thing is, what really are the personal and the professional challenges of sustainability today? Well, if I said to you, I did my degree in the late 1970s until the turn of the early 80s, and the word sustainability, développement durable, never came up once. Not once. No one was thinking about it. At that point, environmental groups were idiots, nutters who were just getting in the way of creating jobs, etc. They really didn't exist in any normal, everyday world. But now, développement durable, sustainability is with us at a personal and professional level, at an international, global, international, national, regional, local level, down to a personal level. If I were teaching business management, I would be talking to you now about cascading. This idea that you start with something at the highest of levels and you set the principles that you want in very broad terms. And then you go down a level, and those principles are arranged in perhaps programs and projects. Well, projects actually, I suppose, come after programs. So you then have projects, which then require people to participate and on the ground to perform in consistency with, in accord with the principles very much higher up. The only problem is that quite often things suffer in translation, not in language, but from the top to the bottom of the pyramid. For example, and I hope the UHA doesn't take me to task over this, but I do not remember anything other than switch off the lights, which the university has told me I should be doing as a teacher to be able to respect développement durable. Until recently, at least last year in my classrooms, there was just one bin to throw things in. That was it. There was no tree. There was no recycling possibility. Am I being told, or is it being enforced, that I do not give lots of photocopies to you? I put everything online? No. I do not know how the university is translating things from government level down to Éducation nationale, down to universities, down to our university, down to my faculty. Now I know, as far as COVID is concerned, there's lots of specifics. I must or mustn't wear a mask, etc. But as far as développement durable is concerned, I'm not receiving those messages. They should be clear. I should know how I should be changing, what I should be telling you that I wasn't telling you before. So there are personal challenges for us and professional challenges for all of us. I want you to think about some of these things and to set some of them before you so you can think about how you are challenged and how you feel about it. What about your life, your lifestyle, the way you consume things, your attitude to consumption, to spending, to buying things? Is that in conformity with what the earth owes you? What the earth can provide for you, because it's got to provide for nearly 7 billion people in addition Do you even know that there are perhaps limits to the extent to which you can consume? So I'm going to confront you with things like carbon footprint tests to be able to identify, in fact, just how efficiently and effectively you are living, and whether you are living within what the Brundtland Report, the World Commission on Environment and Development from 1987, calls living within the planet's ecological means. Are you? Am I? I will show you that, for example, at the moment, most French and British people, if everyone lived like them, like us, we would need 3 planets, pretty much. The way I live and my family live, well, it's a little bit better than 3 planets. It's a bit underneath that. The only problem is we've only got the 1. So it doesn't really matter whether I'm at 1.8 or 2.5 or 3.1. 1 is all we got. So I'm going to challenge you. Just how well are you doing? Have you ever measured this? How much CO2 do you produce? If we imagine that on the 1st of January, Mother Earth, whatever you believe her to be, can offer you a certain amount for the year. I might call it in English, your fair share of the world's resources. When do you spend it? When do you go into your overdraft with Mother Earth? Do you manage to make everything she gives you on the 1st of January last until the end of the year? Or do you run out in September or June or May? And given the Earth really doesn't have any more to give you, the only place you can get those extra resources from are from borrowing them from the needs of your children and your grandchildren and future generations. So have you ever taken time to think about this? In fact, the question I am going to ask you is, how much opportunity have you had throughout all of your schooling since age 3 or 4, from kindergarten right through to the end of school, from the beginning of your university career through to the end of M1? Okay, you're doing a particular course now, so you will have had some, but until you started that, how much time did you spend on développement durable, on climate change, on environment, on being a wise and respectful citizen of the planet and its resources and the rights of other people? If, as the Paris Climate Summit suggested, it is the most unifying, most critical, most important thing to the whole of the world, surely you would have been spending a huge amount of time on it. Surely people would have been teaching you. Surely people would have been getting you to think about yourself and how you relate to this issue. Have we been failing you, or have you got the message? And obviously the issue is, if you've got the message, that means you are aware. I'm going to talk about a very simple model called AIDA, A-I-D-A, awareness, interest, desire, action. You may be aware, but is it just boring, not sexy, not fun, not young, not essential, this development durable thing? So, are you interested? If you're interested, do you actually desire, do you actually want to try to change and to improve? And if you do, are you able to act? Or do you need more information, more advice, more help, more resources, more support? Where are we? So I'm going to ask you to think about yourself and where you are, what your impact on other people who are living and other people in the future is, and to think maybe as well about what is stopping you, first of all, and us all, because You're just one of millions, billions. What is stopping all of us from doing better? There are a lot of things that divide us, but whether it's Beijing or whether it's Paris, we've seen the pictures of smog. We've seen the pictures of smoke, or we've heard about cars being banned. During COVID, we saw the pictures in India and in China when the smog just disappeared because there were no more cars. Are we thinking about those things? Well, obviously, no matter what our culture, we can see the change. Okay, yesterday, President Trump failed to see the change in California, despite millions of hectares of land being burned. He was convinced that climate change had not been proven by science. But generally speaking, we're all seeing it. So the challenge is, how are we going to react to it? Now, we wear different hats, don't we? Your personal, professional, your family hat, first of all. You as an individual, and you as a member of your family. And then after that, there's you as a professional. You as someone who could speak up. Someone who could be a whistleblower and say, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing this. Someone who could make a decision whether we're in your power, to change things for the better. Do you do it? Will you do it? Are you planning to do it? Well, someone has to. If you are not thinking ecologically, environmentally, as a human being, as an individual, as a person in your personal life, you're hardly going to suddenly pick up that hat and wear it when you go to work. It starts with you, the person you are. So what are these things that are stopping us? If we're all very similar, we're all human beings, we all want more. We all want better. We all relish a challenge. None of us like stress. There's a lot of commonality. How are we going to harness our ingenuity and our need to be able to exist, survive, develop, and manage the world for the benefit of our and future generations? How are we going to do that? What are these things that are stopping us? I would call them inhibitors. It's very important that we identify what they are. If we can identify what they are for us as a class, as you as a young generation, us as people in Maloos, if we can overcome those things, identify what they are, and a strategy to overcome them without just saying someone should do something about this. We have to be able to say what should be done, how it should be done, and to play our role in doing it. And not to imagine that someone just has a huge, great checkbook to be able to pay for it all. We've got to find other ways, creative ways of coming up with solutions. For example, at Vauban, the Quartier, one of the two quartiers in Freiburg, that has transformed itself and the lives of 25,000 people in Vauban into largely a carbon neutral and energy self-sufficient life. Well, how did they manage to do that? And if they managed to do that 30 kilometers up the road, just the other side of a river, well, why can't we do it? We've got to identify what those problems are and find a way to overcome them. Also, I'm going to take you back a long way and just before the current sustainability movement. Why sustainability? Is it something completely new? Well, it's something that's emerged for a variety of reasons, which I won't go into now. It's in a later video. But I will foreshadow something. John F. Kennedy, obviously before sadly the guy was murdered, assassinated, said the problems of mankind have been caused by man, therefore they can be solved by men. And then he says mankind can be as big as he wants to be. So in other words, he's saying, he was talking about almost a nuclear third world war, which we managed to avoid in 1961-62. Here I'm applying that to the big problem that we've all got at the moment in terms of climate change and development and how we manage to manage it successfully. And he's saying it's there. It's within our hands. It's within our reach. We can do it. Question is how much we want. Well, that starts with you and it starts with me. How much do we want it? What are we prepared to do? What are we not prepared to do? If it requires that we have to do what we don't want to do, how is that going to change? Governments have the power of law, regulation, to be able to persuade us and to force us to be able to change. They can give us incentives like subvention to be able to change and to do the right thing, or they can give us a reprimand and force us to change if we won't listen to the subvention. If you like, c'est le carotte et c'est le bâton. Which do you need? Is it a combination of both? I don't know, but it's up to you to see. We're going to go on that journey and we're going to look at the modern sustainability movement from about the 1950s on, from the point at which the science was already telling the story. People like Rachel Carson, for example, who was looking at climate change and the effect on species, who produced reports in the 1950s suggesting that there was going to be a massive fall off. We've known about this for ages. So I'm going to look at that and take you on the journey, where we've been, where we've come to, and then you and I are going to work together on this is where we are. How do we overcome the problems? How do we get to the other side? What can we do personally? What can we do professionally? So that's the challenge in this unit, and I'm looking forward to going on the journey with you. Thank you very much.